Hey everybody, Tamara Williams Van Horn with Auntie Corn Leadership Strategies, and I felt like talking about strengths today, but I also didn't feel like talking about Clifton strengths, and so I'm going to introduce you to the VIA character assessment. So VIA character assessment is very much grounded in positive psychology, whereas Don Clifton, the progenitor of Clifton strengths, is known as the grandfather of positive psychology. So a lot of his work predates the US's delving into positive psychology, and there are some key differences. The VIA assessment was developed out of a group led by Mayerson in Cincinnati, Ohio, and Martin Seligman. It is a free-to-take assessment. So Clifton Strengths, you need to pay in order to even take the assessment. VIA is free to take the assessment. When you take the assessment, you create a username and an account, like most things, and then you are given the assessment, which has kind of similar statements. I think for some people it might be easier to take than the Clifton Strengths assessment. And then when you are complete, what comes up for you is your top character strength, and then you can click and go into a listing from 1 to 24. So Clifton Strengths is 34 talent themes. VIA is 24 character strengths. So you get a list of 1 to 24 with a brief description. All of that is free. And VIA also has some courses, some self-study, and some group courses, depending on what your interests are, for you to delve deeper into that report. Plain. Besides that, VIA has for purchase a deeper dive report. In that report, it kind of takes you through your top 5, which they call your signature strengths, and then shows you how to work with your middle strengths and your lower strengths. It also offers a mindfulness assessment that goes alongside the character strengths assessment. And it kind of weaves together where you are in your mindfulness journey and talks about how some of your strengths can be leveraged to support your mindfulness practice. One of the experiences that I went through with VIA character strengths is an 8-week mindfulness and character strengths course. So for 8 weeks, we studied mindfulness, we talked about character strengths, we talked about developing character strengths through mindfulness, and developing mindfulness through character strengths. So what's the difference between a talent theme and a character strength? So a talent theme is a recurring pattern of thought, feeling, and behavior that can be applied productively and developed into near perfect performance. A character strength kind of feels like, to me, more foundational. It is a part of you that is strong, that has replicants in every culture, that really is part of kind of who you are and not how you approach things, which is much more what Clifton Strengths measures. So the VIA is often what I recommend for people starting off on their strengths journey who are not engaged directly in a workplace. For one, it's free. A lot of times people want to do an assessment as a community organization or group of students or family or what have you, and cost may be a factor. Secondly, I think that character strengths are often much more easily grasped as universal for all people or existing amongst all people than some of the talent themes. And I also think that the language is a little bit more similar to the way we use it colloquially in the VIA character strengths assessment. So love is love. Love is one of the 24 character strengths. Some others are appreciation of beauty and excellence, self-regulation, creativity, curiosity, love of learning, gratitude. I think hope is one. In addition to having the character strengths, they've grouped those character strengths into, I think, 6 virtues. And so a virtue can be something like wisdom or transcendence, or temperance. So there are also kind of groupings of clusters of character strengths within each one of those virtues. And there's so much work that can be done through that assessment, with or without the report. I think it's a great resource. I think it's a great asset. I think the work that VIA has been doing over the last few years to build more of a community feel around practitioners and users of the VIA assessment has just propelled it into something that's really wonderfully created and curated. And the other part that I really like about the VIA Character Strengths Survey is that it is much more open source than Clifton Strengths. You can research it, you can read lots of scholarly papers on it. There's a lot more access to the tool. People can use it in other research projects and get permission pretty easily. It's not a super burdensome process to get copies of the assessment questions and to deliver those assessments as part of other kinds of research, other interventions, that kind of thing. So a lot of scholars in psychology and social work and education have used the VIA assessment to support other research that they're doing or to be part of research that they're doing and to validate the tool. So it has a lot of information on its replicability and validity. And another key difference between the two assessments is Clifton Strengths really hesitates to endorse taking the assessment more than once. That's not to say people don't do it. Lots of people do it. I did it, etc. VIA actually provides guidance to check in on your strengths every 1 to 2 years, just to see where you're at, to kind of see how you're evolving as a person. It's reasonable to expect for the signature strengths to remain pretty high up there. I can say I have taken VIA 3 or 4 times now over the years. I found it in 2004 as well. Before it had a VIA name, it was called like a happiness survey or something like that. And my top 5 definitely move around and slide in and out, but it's been remarkably stable. Most of my top 5 stay in my top 5. They just move around. Occasionally one will pop down into the top 10 or so, and something else that was in the top 10 before we'll slide up into that top 5, but it's been incredibly stable for the bulk of my signature strengths. And so I highly recommend the VIA Strengths Assessment, Character Strengths Assessment. I highly recommend delving into character work and positive psychology and mindfulness at those intersections. VIA was validated across the globe, and we have a little bit less information about the original interviews that Don Clifton used. We know that the interviews were from people who were successful or considered successful, and then out of that interview coding, they've identified 400 talents, 300 or 400 talents, and then grouped those talents into talent themes and then gave them names. So the VIA assessment had a different origin process. Again, you can read up on a lot of it. It's out there. There are books. There is a pretty robust website, Plain. Books, a pretty robust website. Again, I think there's a Facebook group, but it's not very active. That said, getting into a course, taking a half-day retreat, there are often offers of half-day retreats on the VIA website. And if you want help with any of these, if you want me to help you arrange for you or you in a group to take one or both of these assessments, please don't hesitate to reach out, put it in the comments. I really like helping people find these assessments and unpack them and figure out how they want to move forward with them. But yeah, character strengths I think are really cool. There is also a children's version. There is a youth version of the VIA assessment that is geared in language and sophistication towards young people. So again, all of those things are available. I haven't talked about Strengths Explorer, I don't think, very much, but Clifton Strengths also has a youth assessment, and it works a little bit different than the adult version of the assessment. And there is a student report that uses the same assessment in Clifton Strengths to give a report that is specifically geared towards, I would say, college students. It gives ideas on how to study, how to pick courses, like how to engage in the higher ed space from a place of talent themes and strengths-based development. So that's what I got to say for today. I hope you dig into one of these assessments or both of these assessments. I hope you ask me any questions that you have below. Like, subscribe, and hit the notify button so that you don't miss any of these. Also, feel free to share this information with someone who you think needs a positive boost in their life. Maybe someone who's dealing with insecurity or imposter syndrome or depression, or is just at a crossroads in their life, a career change, going back into the workforce after parenting or caregiving, any of those things. I highly recommend that you send them my way or send them to one of these assessments. Like, subscribe, notify, share. I said all those things. And with that, we'll sign off until tomorrow, and I'll say adios.